everyone, welcome to 2018. Today I am going to bring you my August to December wrap up from 2017. My very first video on this channel was the books that I've read in 2017 from January to about August. It was a pretty long video because I had read a ton of books. Well, a ton for me. So this is the second half of the year that I'm wrapping up for you, and it's a new year and I have new reading goals. So I'm really excited about that. So without any further ado, let me introduce the books that I read from August to December in 2017. So something that's really funny is that I read like 3 books in a row that had the word hate or hating in the title. I think the first one that I read was I Hate Everyone But You. The second one was The Hate You Give. And then the last one, which would start this video from that part of the year, is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I don't have a physical copy because I listened to it on audiobook and I loved it so much. I'm surprised at how much I loved it. It was a really cute audiobook, so romantic and gave me all the feels, and I loved the narrator of it, so it made it really easy to get through. It's one of those classic hate to love stories, and I really love those. And it took place in a publishing house, which made it really interesting. The only things that I wish I had seen more were maybe more conflicts between the two main characters, because there were a lot of like cute, steamy moments, which I loved. But I really loved their conflict between each other because they were both vying for one position in this publishing house. And I would have liked to explore that a little bit more and see some more of their conflicts outside of work or outside of this one position. I would have also liked to see a little bit more of the main character's background. I mean, both of them really. For the most part, it was really just the story about Lucy and Joshua, but I would have liked to see some side characters, maybe some of Lucy's friends or Joshua's friends, or even some of the workers in the publishing house. But overall, I really loved this book, and I highly recommend listening to this one on audiobook if you get the chance, because it was a really fun time with the narrator. The next book I read after that is The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware, and this was my second Ruth Ware book as well as her second book, and I really love this one. For the most part, I listened to it on audiobook. I think I read a couple chapters out of this. I'm really glad I did because Imogen Church narrates them, and she's really phenomenal at it, and it made it so much easier to read. I love Ruth Ware's books. This one, I think I liked this one more than In a Dark, Dark Wood. This one takes place on a cruise ship. The main character thinks that she hears something or maybe witnesses something on this cruise ship, and she's trying to piece together what's happening. The people on the cruise ship are all, it's like the maiden voyage, and so it's journalists and PR people. She doesn't really know everyone on the ship, so she's trying to figure out who she can trust, who maybe committed a crime, who's missing. It had an ending I don't think I saw coming, and I just really enjoyed listening to it, and I can't wait to listen to The Lying Game, also by Ruth Ware, and see what else that she has in store for us in the future. The next book that I read was They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera, and I got a digital arc of this, so thank you to Harper Teen for approving me on NetGalley to read this, because I'm so glad that I got my hands on it. It was amazing. It was my first Adam Silvera book. All the hype is totally worth it. Let me tell you, this book will give you all the emotions. As you probably know by now, it's about a world in the future where there is this technology where you'll find out the day that you're going to die, but you don't know how, you don't know when. All you know is you're going to die in the next 24 hours. Through an app called the Last Friend app, you are able to meet someone who's also going to die on that day. So the two main characters do meet on this app. They end up becoming really close in the end, and it's a really great friendship story, love story, interesting world that Adam Silvera has built, because you don't know really anything about this whole death cast of knowing when you're gonna die. The writing was beautiful. There were other viewpoints rather than just the two main characters, so I liked seeing about everyone else in the world and how they were experiencing either their own death cast foretelling or the two main characters' death cast. The only thing that I have against this book is that I really would have liked to see more of the world, and hopefully Adam Silvera will continue to make books that have to do with this world, because I think the idea of knowing when you're gonna die is so fascinating, and I would love to see him build upon that and how it came about that we know we're gonna die and how this technology was formed and the Last Friend app, and I would just love to see a little bit more in this world, so I really hope that he does something else with it. But overall, I loved this book. It was so beautiful. It was heartbreaking, but so beautiful, and I highly recommend it. The next book I read is The Husband's Secret by Liane Moriarty, and I cannot say enough good things about Liane's books. I loved Big Little Lies, and I absolutely loved this one. I think I loved this even more than Big Little Lies. Kind of in the same vein, where we have a few different characters, and they all have their own stories to tell, and in the end, they all come together. There's secrets that you're trying to figure out, and you don't know what it is. I had a hard time figuring out where exactly this was gonna go, but I love books where all the characters come together in the end, and they meet somehow, and it's all connected, and this is exactly that, and it was just what I was looking for, and I really can't wait to read more of Liane's books, and I really hope this one gets turned into a movie or miniseries or something, because I thought it was phenomenal. The next book I do own a physical copy of, but I am currently lending it out to my best friend Brittany, who was reading it this month, and that is You by Caroline Kepnes. Oh my gosh, this book, I have so many feelings on it. It was one of the best thrillers that I've ever read. It was such a unique book in the way that it's written, because it is about this man who works in a bookstore who develops this obsession with one of his customers, and he just has to figure out how to be with her. And so the book is written to you. He addresses everything to you, which is this person in the book, but you're reading it like he's talking to you, which is absolutely creepy because this guy is terrifying and it's really unnerving. And yet at the same time, it's written so well that you almost feel for him and you almost ship their relationship, but then you have to check yourself and you're like, wait a second, this guy is crazy. I am not on his side. It's such a wild ride, and it's also becoming a TV series, and I'm so excited about that. Overall, I really love this book. I could not put it down, and I read it in October, so it was perfect mood read for Halloween and spooky and all that fun stuff. Then to lighten things up a little bit, I read Wonder by RJ Palacio. Loved this book. I was so surprised how much I loved it, because it is a middle grade book, a young reader's book, so it's geared towards kids, but it really does not read like a kid's book. And I keep telling that to everyone who I interact with at work who buys this. I think everyone of every age should read it because the themes are important. It's about being kind and not bullying and seeing people for more than just how they look. Of course, the movie was absolutely phenomenal as well. I loved it. It is such a tearjerker of a book, so don't go into this without tissues. The main character, of course, Augie, is a 9 or 10-year-old boy, so it's written from his perspective, most of it, but I think he's mature for his age, probably because of everything he's had to deal with, because he is disfigured and he's gone through bullying and awkward stares from strangers his whole life. So I think he has a little bit more of a mature mindset than some kids. So that's why it was really easy to read this. But also, it's not just told through Augie's perspective. There are other characters who have their perspectives in here. Overall, I really love this book and I highly recommend it, as well as the movie. The next book I read, I don't have because I got a digital arc of it. So thank you to Hatchet for approving me for this galley on NetGalley, and that was Girl Logic by Iliza Shlesinger. Is that how you say her name? I'll just call her Iliza because that's easier to say. I'm really glad that I picked this up because it was really inspirational, so feminist, and so motivational. It was really interesting to hear her journey to being a female comedian and what that's like in the industry, and just to hear how she incorporates being a feminist and treating other women equally in her stand-up. And that was really interesting because it's something I don't think about a lot, about how, you know, she's a woman, so she has a responsibility just as a woman to support other women and not slut shame and things like that. And so how she incorporates those values into her set, it was really inspirational for any girl who's interested in comedy to, or even just like Hollywood, to read that and pick that up and get some inspiration for you. Then I read, I guess this would be my first graphic novel because I don't think I've ever read one before, but it was Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too by Jomny, who is like my favorite Twitter account ever and is like BFFs with Lin-Manuel Miranda, so it's cool. There's hardly any actual words on the pages, so it's really easy to get through, but I recommend it if you're looking for a cute, inspirational, easy breezy read. So then I was getting in the mood for Christmassy books, so I picked up Young Scrooge by R.L. Stine, of course, author of the Goosebumps series, iconic. This one I did not know existed. A Christmas Carol is one of my absolute favorite stories. It was a pretty easy read. I mean, it's a kid's book, so I could handle it. An interesting twist on A Christmas Carol because it is geared towards like an 11-year-old, 12-year-old boy. It follows the same pattern as A Christmas Carol, but you know, the events of Christmas past and present and future and everything are a little bit different because it's geared toward this young boy. I thought it was a really cute read, good for young kids to pick up because it does deal with bullying, because this Scrooge, he's a little bit of a bully, so I think that would offer kids a good perspective. Overall, I thought it was a good read. Flew through it pretty easily, and it was a good retelling of A Christmas Carol geared towards young kids, which I think is great because Christmas Carol is amazing and everyone should read it. So hopefully kids who are not super interested in reading will pick this up because it's from Goosebumps and it's got like creepy ghosts and everything, and then maybe be interested in the classic Christmas Carol version by Charles Dickens. Finally, this is not my last book, but finally I finished Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. Why did this take me so long to get through? I have this book, but I didn't really read anything from the physical book. I listened to it on audiobook because Dan Stevens narrated it. It took me so long to get through, and it's such a short book. It's like 3 hours, but I could not do it. Probably because his voice is so soothing that I kept like falling asleep when I'd listen to it. I think the thing about Agatha Christie that kind of rubbed me the wrong way is that she uses a ton of dialogue and not too much narrative and exposition. I guess that just doesn't vibe well with me. I guess I'm not really a dialogue-ish reader. I mean, it's great to have, of course, but I like getting painted the picture of what's happening as well. And it was kind of hard to keep track of who's saying what, and there's a bunch of different accents going on, and so that can be a little bit confusing when you're listening to it on an audiobook. I don't know, maybe it's because I kept listening to this in the car when I was tired, and I have no idea. So it took me a long time to get through, but I finally finished it like right before the new year. Yeah, it was a pretty good ending. I think I would have liked a little bit more justice and a little bit more of a wrap up. I don't know. I might try some more Agatha Christie books, but I don't know if I can do them on audiobook. It was exhausting. And the last book of 2017 that I read went out with a bang because I really loved this book, and it was a Christmassy book, so what more could you ask for? It was The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand, and I loved this book, and I was not expecting to love this book as much as I did. I picked it up because, again, I love A Christmas Carol retelling. The whole storyline is that Holly Chase was a Scrooge who didn't change her ways, and then she died, and then she became the ghost of Christmas past for all Scrooges after her. Basically, she's dead, but she works at this Project Scrooge, which is how she's the ghost of Christmas past. You have to suspend your disbelief for this book because there's this whole world that just nothing makes sense. Like, she's dead, but she's still walking around New York City and interacting with people, but she's dead. What's interesting is that it's not really a retelling of A Christmas Carol because most of it is taking place in the present where she is the ghost of Christmas past, but it does cover that a little bit. But I like that because it's like a continuation of A Christmas Carol. What I also liked about this book is that it's not heavy on romance. There is a tiny bit of romance in here, and it is essential to the story, but it's not the end-all be-all, and it's not, they got married and lived happily ever after, which I really loved because it's a part of the story, but it's not the story. What really is the story is family and friendship and thinking about your actions and how they affect people and how you can change the past and redeem yourself. And I love a good story about redemption, and that's really what this was about. I'm really glad this was my last read of 2017. I highly recommend it. I'm just really, really satisfied with this entire book. It was so perfect. Okay, guys, those are all the books that I read in the second half of 2017. If you would like to see my first half of 2017 video, I will definitely leave it linked below or in a box somewhere. I don't know how YouTube works. I think that's somewhere like 35 books for 2017. I don't know the exact number because I started so many books that year that I still haven't finished, so I'm not counting those. And I did complete my resolution of reading at least one book a month. I definitely did more than that, so I'm very, very proud of myself for that. And I'm looking forward to a better reading year in 2018. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Happy New Year, happy 2018. Let me know what books you read last year that you really enjoyed. What was your favorite? What books are you planning to read this year? So again, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.